Hello, today's lesson will be on the ATC model. ATC is about identifying your thoughts about an activating event and the consequences of those thoughts. It is meant to be one of the first skills taught because it is a foundational skill and the other MRT skills are built upon it. ATC is designed to build self-awareness. By identifying your heat-of-the-moment thoughts about an activating event and the consequences of those thoughts, ATC gives you greater control over your emotions and reactions. It is key to remember that our thoughts are the area over which we have the most control. On this slide, we will review the ATC model. To start, an activating event is the who, what, when, and where. The event can be a large adversity, such as the death of someone you care about, or a minor issue like a parking ticket. Activating events can also be positive, such as getting a promotion or having a baby. Thoughts are our heat-of-the-moment thoughts, or what we say to ourselves immediately following an activating event. Thoughts drive our immediate reactions and can be productive or counterproductive. The key words in the thought bubble are interpretations and heat of the moment. Consequences are the emotions and reactions. They're what we feel and do in reaction to our thoughts about an activating event. To be clear, emotions are feelings and reactions are behaviors. Reactions can be what you do and what you don't do, such as avoiding a person or situation. Although it often feels like our emotions and reactions, the consequences, are driven by the situation itself, in truth, our consequences are driven by what we say to ourselves about the activating event. We can build our self-awareness and ultimately self-regulation by slowing the process down and separating what happened from what we said to ourselves about it, from our emotions and reactions. Our thoughts drive our emotions and reactions. Before an activating event, you can figure out what you want to think so that you can have the emotions and reactions that are most productive. You can also reflect on your thoughts later to understand why you felt and reacted the way you did. Later in this lesson, we will discuss thought themes. On this slide, we can see how thoughts of trespass lead to feelings of anger and frustration. The consequences that he experiences and displays are driven by what he said to himself in the heat of the moment, his thoughts. Take a moment to read the definition of emotions. Throughout MRT skills and competencies taught in this lesson and others, note that the words feelings and emotions are used interchangeably. While looking over the slide, think of as many emotions as possible. Try and think of both positive emotions like happiness and negative emotions like anger. Take note of the amount of positive versus negative emotion words you come up with. Some emotion words are similar, but some describe important distinctions in focus or intensity, such as furious versus mad. Sometimes it's harder to come up with positive emotion words than it is to come up with negative ones, because of the negativity bias. This is the tendency for us to focus more on the negative than the positive. Understanding your own vocabulary for emotions is an important self-awareness tool. Understanding that other people have a different vocabulary for emotions can also help to build empathy and connection. Sometimes thoughts get mixed in with emotions, such as I felt like an idiot or I felt he needed to be taught a lesson. The skill of ATC is designed to help us separate thoughts from emotions. While there is value to negative emotions, including signaling danger and prompting us to make a change, positive emotions are critical in building resilience. Positive emotions help increase and build creativity because they encourage out-of-the-box thinking, while negative emotions narrow thinking. Using positive emotions, such as gratitude or humor, can act as a protective buffer during difficult times because it makes people feel good and helps the body repair from the negative effects of negative emotions. An example of this is that laughing can be used to return a person's heart rate to baseline faster. It is important to note that there is a distinction between a thought and a thought theme. Thoughts are what you say to yourself in the heat of the moment. Thought themes are more general categories that summarize the meaning or category of the specific thought. Let's take a moment to review the chart. In loss, something that you value is gone. Danger, there is something unknown or unclear. Trespass, you have been slighted or someone has violated your rights. Inflicting harm, you have hurt someone or you are at fault or you have let someone down. Negative comparison, you feel as though you are not good enough or you're unworthy. Positive contribution, you have added value. Appreciating what you have received, you have been given something important. Positive future, things will improve or there is a light at the end of the tunnel. In looking at the different thought themes, it is it is easy to identify that there are common patterns in thoughts and the consequences that follow from those thoughts. This chart is not meant to suggest that these connections always hold true, but they do most of the time. The chart is meant to be used as an empathy tool and for understanding your own patterns. If you find that you over-experience a certain emotion, you can identify the pattern in your thoughts that is driving that consequence. The activating event on this slide is a soldier finding out about his first deployment. As you review the chart, you should notice that different thoughts a person has about the activating event may explain how they can have multiple emotions and reactions to the same activating event. In the example, you will notice that the soldier used their own words to describe their thoughts. When you identify your own thoughts, you should take care to use your own words and not the general thought themes and statements that were found on the chart on the previous slide. Ideally, a trespass thought would be represented by your actual thoughts of, "How dare she cut me off?" or "That person just disrespected me," not necessarily the exact definition of, "I have been slighted." This charted example should help you to understand how different people can experience similar activating events and have very different emotions and reactions driven by the differences in thought. As you review this slide, think about whether you over-experience a certain emotion or reaction, and reflect on whether there is a pattern in your thoughts that is driving that emotion or reaction. As indicated by the photo on the slide, wearing glasses or maintaining overly rigid patterns in thinking can undercut resilience because they might prevent us from seeing a situation accurately. The goal of ATC is to help you slow things down and to separate the activating event, our thoughts about it, and the consequences. It should also help you to identify patterns in your thinking that would make you weaker or decrease your performance. It is important to note that ATC is not a problem-solving skill, but rather a skill to build self-awareness. ATC helps to build the MRT competency of self-awareness. The ATC system is dynamic. Your thoughts drive consequences, your emotions and reactions, which can affect future thoughts and create new activating events. Another way of looking at it is thoughts lead to consequences, which can then reinforce those same thoughts. The more you practice the ATC model, the more you will become aware of patterns in your thinking and reactions that are counterproductive. Be skeptical. Just because you thought it doesn't make it true. To recap, ATC is harder than it looks. Self-awareness about patterns in our thinking is foundational to resilience. Capturing uncensored thoughts is important when practicing the ATC model. This allows us to better understand our emotions and reactions. Thoughts occur quickly, and there is usually more than one thought about an activating event. We can experience more than one emotion for the same activating event, such as sadness and guilt. Sometimes our thoughts include words related to feeling. For example, "I felt disrespected." Although the phrase "I felt" is used, it is a thought and not a feeling. People react to the same activating event very differently. The different reactions can be explained by the variety of different thoughts people have. People do not have to use ATC for every event. It is only used if a person is curious about or confused by his or her emotion and/or reaction. What is the skill? ATC is a method to identify your thoughts about an activating event and the consequences of those thoughts. Our thoughts are under our control. When do you use it? Use ATC anytime you're curious about your emotions or reactions, when you don't like your emotions or reactions, or when you're stuck in a pattern and wearing one set of glasses. How do you use it? Describe the activating event objectively, identify your thoughts, and identify your consequences, emotions, and reactions. You don't want to be tuned in to your internal radio station all the time. ATC can be useful when your emotions and/or reactions are counterproductive or you find yourself wearing one set of glasses. Self-awareness is the primary target of ATC. This concludes the lesson.